All right, I'm back again. Roger was having a technical difficulty to join the webinar, and let's see if he can come in. There you go. All right. How are you?
Great, Rosie. Thank you so much.
Well, you need to acknowledge my technical skills first.
Well, I do because I'm sure that I don't know what I would have done.
Guys behind the camera, he's the one helping me with technology, but on the camera, I'm the one helping him with technology. So
That's true. That's true.
hello, everyone. Rosie and Roger here. We are here on our weekly webinar to discuss commercial and residential real estate. What news is current, what's happening, what's new, and also kind of help understand behind the scenes dynamics for us. Roger is somebody who is a commercial broker on our team and handles a lot of commercial conversations and transactions. And oftentimes we tap into his world to see how real estate and residential is going to be impacted. So I thought, like, rather than having those conversations behind the scenes, it would be so cool if we just were on the camera together and discuss this together. So Roger, take it away. I would love to hear from you on all the great minds you have been digging in real estate. So take it away, what we got today, this week.
Yeah, fantastic. And this is very exciting for me. And I always look to see what value that I can bring on the call. Although the Texas economy isn't changing every week, there are headlines that we can go over. So we'll go over maybe like national level, state level, and then we'll go down into the cities and discuss what's happening in them and what we're seeing as far as migration and different patterns. What do you think, Rosie?
I love it. We actually had a conversation before the conversation, and it was pretty interesting. So I'm excited to dig more into it and take it away. Do you want to share your screen and share with us what's going on?
Yeah, most definitely. So we do tap into CoStar. That's one of our sources. And they say that the economy rolls along, posts strongest growth in nearly 2 years. And one of the things that I thought was really interesting, now GDP is climbing upwards, and that's where that 2-year figure is coming from. And when we look at this, households save less than before the pandemic. And this will really give us an insight into what's happening, how are people spending their money, what are they finding value in, and any maybe things that we could look at it through that lens.
Yeah.
So fascinatingly enough, went and did some more research, and we see here that Starbucks shares surge on earnings beat. So, as people splurge on beverages, I thought that was a really good headline.
You know what's interesting to look at this is that when we were looking at the household save less than the pre-pandemic levels, it was fascinating to us to see how the consumption growth chart was higher than the income growth chart. It was almost like people are feeling comfortable spending money, although income is not going up at the same level. That's exactly what I'm referring to, what you just shared. They were saying how saving rates fall to 3.4% in September, and they have been lowest savings since December of 2022. And they're well below the 5-year pre-pandemic average of 6.2%. So if people are saving less, it means inflation is having an impact on them, but it's not somehow stopping them from consuming, right? So they're consuming goods over real estate, right? So that, like, I was in the real estate training. There's a big summit that happens every August. And I remember they were showing us how consumer spending goes up when the mortgage rates are higher. People are unable to buy homes, so they're spending offsets to consuming goods. And when we had lower interest rates, people were buying real estate more compared to consuming goods. So I'm excited to see what else we got going in here.
Yeah, that's a good point. I see that people's spending habits are maybe been in the pipeline for some time, because if you look at this big uptick right here, Rosie, it just kind of sets what may come into the future, right? So if we're a little tight now, we'll spend a little more later. And so I think it may be like a trade-off effect. So moving along, we also saw some headlines from Airbnb. they continue, Airbnb continues over outsized supply growth despite New York restrictions. And now I know this is just in New York, but I thought it would give us a greater picture into what's happening here locally too. But they, they've had a 19% year over year increase over listings in the third quarter. And the reason why I wanted to bring this up, Rosie, and I know it's not our market, I still wanted to bring that up because I'm wondering how many of those properties are maybe not cash flowing as typical investors would like for them to, or they bought at the height of the pandemic and now they're thinking about how do they offset that difference and let's Airbnb it. So I wanted to bring this up as a conversation piece because if you're sitting there with a piece of property and you were originally planning on Airbnb it out and now you're noticing a whole lot of more competition, just know we need more listings online. We need more listings hitting the market. There's people that would absorb it quickly because we do need homes, right? So if you've thought of selling, it's a great idea to maybe look at selling a little bit more closely, especially if your Airbnb property is not generating the revenue that you once wanted it to.
Yeah, I think it's great because a lot of people, when the interest rates were affordable, for people to bear a mortgage, even on an investment property, a lot of people were buying investment properties simply to Airbnb, and a large inventory of people still own them. And if their interest rates are good, they're able to convert them into long-term rental because Airbnb supply went up high in Texas as well. And if it go up high in Texas, then the ones who are able to convert into long-term rental, they're surviving. And the ones who actually bought it with the projection in mind that Airbnb revenue was going to sustain them, I would say sell it. There's way better opportunities now.
Yeah, because I think the headline could have been just a slight different. It could have, instead of saying how much inventory has gone up, it could have spoken about how much the earning has increased. But we're not seeing that. We're seeing a different headline here. So I would talk to all my friends and family, all of our clients out there. There's quite a few of them actually that had planned on using their property as an Airbnb. And Rosie, how many families did we help that had a non-performing Airbnb? Quite a few, right?
Quite a few. And we were at one point able to sell our properties at a premium price to Airbnb buyers. And after the shift, I do remember it was a huge challenge to market the properties to Airbnb buyers.
Yeah, because they're kind of more skeptic, I would say.
Yeah.
All right, so moving along, we also see that hotels demand is strong across all segments. And that just feeds into our previous conversation about not getting to travel around too much during the pandemic. And now these same travelers are hitting up the hotels.
Yeah. So this is probably the reason why we're seeing higher consumption growth than income growth. And people are still kind of getting out of their during pandemic levels where they were locked down. They want to experience life. They want to travel with their families, create memories. So this is part of the big reason we are seeing hotel segments still do great.
Yeah. And you get points. So, and I'm not familiar with the points that maybe are available to us through Airbnb, but we have seen that Airbnb they're tightening up quite a few things because their business model maybe wasn't conducive to their how they really wanted to be portrayed or seen in the marketplace. So we're seeing them becoming more, I guess, more careful about who they bring in online. All right, so moving along, one of the things that I am really motivated by is one of the statistics. I Googled this earlier. It said, which state has the most tier 1 research universities in the nation? And Texas is that state. So this is because of all of the growth, we've seen all of the tech companies come to Texas and they're needing a better workforce, a more educated workforce. 5-10 years ago, this was the conversation, this was the hot topic, that we don't have enough talent in the pipeline. And so now seeing that more and more people are recognizing Texas as the place to go for that education, or seeing it as a tier 1 university mecca, I would say that this is going to be more good news for us in the future, because as long as we can have a strong educated talent pool, that just means a brighter Texas future. So I'm really motivated by this idea. And but Rosie, I wanted to talk about something that we touched on last week, and I'll bounce back to that. There's a reason why I brought it up. But there was something we spoke about last week, that was the city council hearing, and how we are having this conversation about wanting to build second or third homes on the same lot.
Yeah.
And this is just bouncing around a little bit, I know, but just touching, finally just putting the Airbnb conversation in a gift wrap in it, if you will. A lot of these, I feel like, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. You can leave them in the comments. And Rosie, I would love your thoughts too. I feel like the people that are going to be building these ADUs, which you can build them up to 400 square feet, I believe that's the initial plan. I don't think those properties are going to be used for that intention. There could be a scenario where a lot of these properties go online as Airbnbs. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. That's possible. That depends upon HOA as well, how they're going to override the
There are
restriction.
a lot of.
But a lot of Austin original lots are rectangular deep lots, and there's only one house in the front unless somebody decide to build an ADU. And I remember when you and I were looking over this report, they showed before you needed a 5,000 square footage of a lot to build a property on it. Now you can build on a 2,500 square footage lot.
That's right.
Yeah, right. So if you can put up
Right
a 400, yeah. And even for tiny homes, they are okay with putting up a 400 square footage residential space on it. Now, this only means that Austin City is working hard to provide more housing per square footage of land. And I think spring of 2024, they're going to put this into effect that the requirement from 5,000 square footage has gone down to 2,500 square footage to promote smaller single family homes, which will actually work towards affordability, because the big problem we're trying to solve right now is affordability in Austin, Texas for housing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the largest landholder in our area are existing homeowners. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And so our economy is being really impacted by Tesla. And so they
Yeah.
report numbers here. The company representatives shared that Tesla Gigafactory supported more than 2.1 billion in sales activity within Travis County in 2022.
And that's huge. So basically, Tesla has been able to bring $2.1 billion in revenue into Travis County just in 2022. And at that time, the Gigafactory is barely in construction for their first 2.5 million in square footage. And I remember going forward, like when we were looking, I don't know if you have driven by this, guys, but we had some buyers who were going to buy industrial space. We were researching the area for them. This is huge. Like you don't build something of this magnificent nature and uproot it overnight. So it's only going to get better and better and better for future years. And I think, Roger, if you go up a little bit on the article they were sharing, like right here, 2.1 billion in sales activity within Travis County, including the operations and extended supply chain. And they also said they generated over 1.3 billion in sales activity last year, which is up from 385 million in 2021. So Tesla sales are going up. They're not going down. So I feel like this is going to continue to boost our economy in Travis County.
And there's some headlines out there about the profitability of the company and stuff. And I feel like all of this is brand new. All this infrastructure is brand new. They're still building out there. They're pouring a lot of money into these projects. And so it might be a good idea to look further down the road a little bit on this. And I know a lot of EV companies are not hitting their goals, but let's take a look at what it means in the big picture, big scheme of things, especially regionally, for what it would mean to your real estate instead of your stock portfolio. So those are two different things, right?
Yep.
All right, perfect. Now this is Samsung news, and Samsung, the headline says Samsung's economic impact more than doubled to 13.6 billion in 2022. And where it's not just Samsung, it's so many chip manufacturers, and that's because of the CHIP Act that I think they mentioned in the article. The Taylor factory facility could pump 42 billion into the Central Texas economy alone. Those are really aggressive
Yeah.
numbers.
Yeah.
18 billion in 2 fabrication facilities. So I just want to keep, everybody in loop with this. I believe Texas is #1 or #2 as far as chip manufacture. And we're seeing other places like Sherman, Texas, spending 30 billion in the Texas Instruments. So I know we call it Silicon Valley in California, but the very first chip, microchip, was made here in Texas. So by Texas Instruments. Cool little fact there for everybody.
Nice. So
Yeah.
we're the Chip Valley.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, after 12 years, Site Selection Magazine puts Texas back on top of prestigious ranking. And what this just says is that Texas is a very favorable environment for for businesses. So if you're planning on opening or starting a business or being in business, Texas is a really good place to be for that. And that's why maybe in the past there's been places that are more affordable or less restrictive. But remember, Texas doesn't, we don't have as many of the taxes that other states do. We don't have the state income tax. And for that reason, we're always.
And also, you were talking about like the chip factory that's coming in Sherman, Texas, close to Dallas area.
Yeah.
Yeah, could you share that on? Actually, I would
Yeah,
love to.
there's a company that's what is it? There's one Texas Instruments definitely is going to be there, but there's also a subsidiary of a Taiwanese company that's also spending money and being in Sherman. So the reason why these companies are moving to Sherman, which is a town of 50,000 people, and it's so far, it's about an hour away from Dallas. And we would think, well, why are they opening so far out? Why are they opening, all the way out there? And the reason is because we have Lake Texoma. A lot of these chip manufacturers need a lot of water. I believe Samsung used 38 billion gallons of water last year, and they're coming up with more methods of reusing the same water. But Sherman also has a electricity generation plant. So between that and the water resource, it's primed for creating the silicone chips. And I would look into, I love the corridor, the 75 corridor, and looking at all the trade that might come along there, warehouse space or just industrial space in general, or anything that's along the lines with chip manufacturing. Perhaps maybe there's going to be definitely a more higher educated, a better demographic of people moving into that area. So looking at homes or even multi-units, duplexes, triplexes, quadruplexes, living. So if you can buy some of that residential type of real estate out there and experience the growth over the next 10 years and see your property appreciate. Or you can also tap into a commercial property, a small shopping strip, or something of that nature as well.
Yeah. No, this is true because, I was actually talking to you about all that is happening at the Texas level, and then Austin in Journal about how housing is changing, how the regulations are changing. And I don't know if you had a couple of few more things to share, but I do want to share people on what Austin housing market is looking like. See, what we are looking in the housing market right now is a byproduct of the high interest rates and stuff, right? Now, this is by no means a reflection of what's happening in 2024. So if you look at everything that Roger is sharing today with like Tesla pumping billions of dollars into Travis County economy and seeing a large number of sales activity within the company itself, you can only imagine this is only 2.5 million square footage developed out of the 10.5 million that is in projection. What would happen when all of that is completed? Samsung hasn't even like gotten into full operations yet, right? What would happen if they actually do implement all of that? What would happen if they actually go further and create housing income in the area? What would be the per capita income look like in that area after that? So what we are about to foresee in next few years is going to be byproduct of all these things taking action and stabilizing itself. You know, it takes a couple of years for things to stabilize, and I'm excited for the growth for Texas in general. And I think people should feel naturally more confident to go on the outskirts and acquire more real estate, commercial or residential, because our rural areas are being loved on for many reasons: lower tax rates, better pricing, which can offset the weight they're feeling from interest rates, all of those reasons.
Rosie, that's a really good point you hit on, because Taiwan is the #1 chip manufacturer in the world, and China is constantly claiming that territory, or we're seeing a lot of activity there where they're being the they're being very, what's the word I'm trying to look for, domineering in that area, or they're really bullying, I guess, Taiwan. I don't want to use that word, but that's exactly why, they're the chip manufacturer capital right now. A lot of chips coming out of there. And so during the pandemic, we saw our car lots were empty. And we couldn't sell any cars because we weren't having any chips come in. So this is an effort by the government to say, okay, we don't want to be in that situation again. And now, although it is cheaper to manufacture these chips in different countries, I'm really glad to see that this effort is being placed here at home, and we're keeping these jobs here in the US. That's very comforting. And as far as what you were saying about rural real estate, if you look at Taylor, it's on the outskirts. If you look at the Gigafactory, it's on the outskirts. If you look at Sherman, it's on the outskirts. And so I have a really good idea about why that's happening. The Texas economy, or the Texas population, doubles every 20 years. And so I think they're looking at the map, and they're pointing far enough out and saying, let's go there. Because if the hub is here and you're plotting on the map a little further out, you're giving it that chance to grow, right? So those are the economic drivers that are going to pull people a little more outwards, and we're going to see that urban sprawl.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, so it's not like a lot of the subdivisions I'll share with you here later on, you'll see that they're actually going out of town and building homes. And I think that's also to find a little bit of more leverage and from the high interest rates. So it's actually, let's buy cheap land if we have to put up with these high interest rates.
Yeah, there you go.
So just there's a spot in the Domain that's a little empty. It's been empty for quite some time. There was the Park restaurant, and it's mainly served like, alcohol beverages and drinks, a little hot spot, really good corner there. And so now the owner of Franklin Barbecue is going in there and pulling one of his concepts into that area, which is called Loro.
Yeah, they have a Loro on Lamar, right, in South Austin?
I think they even opened one in Dallas.
Yeah, we went there a couple of times. We absolutely love the creativity there. And we're excited to see that spot in Domain. I think it's actually, for people who don't know what a corner of Domain is a very strong hub in Austin for shopping and retail. And it's like a hangout spot for people in Central Austin area. And Park is right on the same intersection where Apple Store and Nordstrom's is. So it's a very high traffic corner of Domain.
Yeah, Tiffany's is right across there, and so
Neiman Marcus is right there. So it's a very solid spot for high traffic. And the real question to ask here is that if you own commercial and residential real estate around this area, your walkability score just went high, right?
Well, you know what I really liked about this, Rosie? This was the really good news for me, or really what really appealed to me in this situation was all of the other dining options in the Domain are bigger names. They're national level restaurants. And so seeing this company move in there, it just shows me that there's this need for local businesses.
Like Austin is so good at rewarding the local business owners, and and their endeavors. And I wouldn't be surprised that if they take their unfair share in the market, as they well deserve to have one.
Yeah, they're gonna make them the big boys really envious, I feel like. Yes, and so here's a little bad news, because we always said we're going to bring you good news and we're going to bring you bad news as well. So Virgin's suspending nonstop flights between Austin and London.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Sir Richard Branson actually blame it on the soft tech sector. I would have another take on it.
Yeah,
Like, people don't want to
that's
fly
right.
out of Texas; they want to fly into Texas, or maybe more so work from home, right? Like, that's something I would say a lot of homeowners. I think, Roger, you and I were looking at it. They said we were. I don't know if you're going to pull that article up, where how many percentage of renters actually can afford a mortgage to buy their first home, but only
Oh, yeah.
35% of the current homeowners qualify for a median home price. And that means 65% of the homeowners right now are wearing golden shackles, which means that people would sell and buy, but they just can't. So
That's
affordability
right.
is an issue. So I would say Apple itself, which is a big major Austin employer, they have actually slowed down on their travel budgets. And all these things add up when we have nonstop flights in and out of Austin.
You know, you brought up a really good point there. We didn't talk about that earlier. It's because people are flying in and lesser people are flying out.
Yeah.
And also, that's a really good point to make, is that are these tech people flying to London? And maybe not, right? I don't know. I don't know if London is a tech hub or not, but
Yeah.
I would say that more people are flying into Austin. And Rosie, on your other note, you said 38% of people, which is, that's right, it's an article in here, is 38% of people, only 38% of people could actually qualify for a mortgage if they went to get a loan today, right?
These are the current
Existing
homeowners.
homeowners, current
Like
homeowners.
35% of the people who currently live in homes, they're able to qualify for another median price home. It means median price has gone up. It means 65% of the people are just grateful that they have a place to live. And they're doing their best to just stay in the house. Unless there are opportunities on the rural areas to go outskirts, I'm concerned that this trend is going to continue to intensify.
Ah, thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
All right, let's see here. So there's a company moving into our area, our neck of the woods here in Austin. They're spending they raised 185 million, but then the article later on goes to say that they raised $350 million. But what they're looking to do is create smaller, lighter, and more efficient motors, because of half of all global electricity each year goes towards motors. Surprisingly, I didn't know that. So their goal is to make more efficient motors. And here it says the company raised 350 million. So that's exciting. And I think that's just a lot of these motors are going to be used in HVAC systems or semiconductor plants, I imagine, different cooling environments. And the only reason why I brought this up is because it's more of the same thing that's coming into the area. They all want to be close to one another. They want to feed off each other's energy. And this is what we're becoming known for, right? So we have Tesla.
I'm loving the name
more
of
than,
manufacturing in any way possible.
yeah,
Like, I think last week you talked about how there's a popsicle factory opening up in Lockhart,
that's
motor
right.
factory in Mexico, and direct roads coming to Texas, Tesla, Samsung. Like, these are good news, which means we're creating employment. So I
Yeah,
would say consider its impact, not right now, this month. I would say a year from now, 2 years, 3 and 5 years from now, because that's what you're really wanting to project ahead. Real estate is a long-term game, not a short term.
right on, right on. Yeah, that's when we'll start to see the normalize effect, right?
Yeah, yeah,
New shopping centers in construction
yep,
in Georgetown, and they're going to be anchored by a Sprouts grocery store.
love
The reason
it.
why I brought this up specifically was because this is on the outskirts of town. If you looked
Yep.
at it on a map, it's a little bit rural. It's not right in the middle of the city. Again, this is probably to counter interest rates
Yeah, once
and
again,
also to
yep,
plot for future growth.
yep. absolutely. Agreed.
So they have 50 buyers in 90 days for these multi-million-dollar homes here in Austin. And I bring
Wow.
this up to show us that's going to be their entry. I bring this up because this is their efforts to, it's going to be along Lake Travis. But also because if you look over here, it is, again, more of the same, right, Rosie? It's not dead smack in the city. It's a
Yeah.
little bit on the outskirts. And my
Yep.
graphic is a little skewed here, but. All right, and moving on along, this is actually in Dallas now. We're talking about Dallas news. And Dallas just sold a office building. And the recent sale for the building was, I believe, at 822 million about 7 years ago. And now they show a loan in place for 450 million. So it leaves us to wonder at how steep of a discount this property was sold for. So we're starting to see some of the deals come through, right? So
Yeah.
this is actually, I think,
And
the
I think
largest,
this is primary reason why they're also
priciest suburban
encouraging.
office deal.
Yeah. And I think this is one of the primary reasons why they're offering now office buildings to be converted into residential.
Yes.
That's a huge reason, because what happened during pandemic and how work lifestyle got changed for permanent good, like there would be go back to office trend, but not that much. So what are we going to do with that unused office space? It
Yeah.
is going to be converted into residential because affordability is an issue. So it's better to reuse and repurpose existing buildings that have been, like, I remember we had a conversation. I think it was Warren Buffett in an interview. He said, these big structures are not going anywhere. They're going to be
Yeah.
just different people living in it.
Yeah, changing ownership. That's the only thing that's going to happen. And yeah, you're right. Out of DC today, we got news that there's been a package released, and we talked about that earlier in the show.
Yeah.
And so there's going to be some funds moving around that we should probably look out for and see how we can get in the middle of that money. So Dallas, home of Southwest Airlines, they're going off to purchase another 108 more jets. This is great for local news. I feel like one of our local key players is winning, so that's
Yeah.
always
It always
good.
pumps more economy. Yep. Mhm.
Uh-huh. And then Regent Property launched 500 million for a credit platform for real estate deals. So this company mentioned, they said, look, you know what? The banks are a little spooked, and the move comes at a time when banks may have scaled back commercial real estate lending in the face of heightened interest rates and general uncertainty in the economy. So the article goes on to say that, you know, the CEOs mentioned some bank failures and how those bank failures and the high interest rates are creating this void for his
Yeah.
company to come in and play in. And so they're looking to buy things up. And I think if we just look at the big dogs and we say, okay, what are they doing and how are they operating? And if we can just operate the same way, what are they doing? They're moving into that space and buying. They're
Yeah.
not retreating and pulling back.
And some of the most
So-
resilient companies, as we were talking today, they were established during these downturns. You know, this
Yeah.
is the time you're able to acquire real estate at a good price. You're able to reestablish anchors for long-term growth. And I feel like when we look at, as you're saying, what big dogs are doing, then
Mhm.
we are able to kind of reverse engineer back our decisions at the local market level. So I wouldn't say there's a fear in the market. Yes, we are in the patience phase, but a wise person once said that patience is not inaction.
I like
You
it.
being patient doesn't mean you're not taking action into your future. So be patient with your real estate. Love on it. It has rewarded people for, you know, decades after decades of decades. It's not going to betray you now. If you're looking at short term, it might not have the same impact that you are wanting to feel, but long term, you can ask your ancestors.
And the real estate you're looking to buy, ask yourself what would have been priced at when the interest rates were significantly lower. So you're going to see the discount that you're getting. It's going to be a six-figure discount, right?
Yeah.
So
I remember when
really
my first
outpacing.
property, Roger, when we bought it in Dallas, was 7.75 interest rate. And
Yeah.
we didn't whine about it. We thought it was a great interest rate because prices were great. So same thing again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Prices were great. That's exactly right. So there's a new construction happening in Dallas, and one of the things that caught my eye was this $13 million project in Allen. And we also saw this in the Circuit of Americas. But for all my builder friends out there, this is what they're building. They're building these
Wow.
warehouse condos, and
Wow.
I can show you a little bit what
This
they
is in
look like.
Allen, Texas?
This is in Allen, Texas, but they also have one
Wow.
of these type of properties here in Austin
In
at
Austin, yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
So I really like these a lot. And I
Our
think
car lovers.
that this is a great, look, if you look at it, construction wise, it's very simple.
Yeah.
It's not a very expensive construction. It's very simple construction.
Yeah.
But what it is that simplicity is met with the real need. And now you're able to go out there and sell it to a client that's really looking for it. So I have
Yeah.
a friend of mine who's, he's probably, I love to brag on him. He's the #1 tattoo artist here in Austin. And he sent me this. He said, this is exactly what I want. And so it makes, right? So it makes me wonder, like, how many more people are thinking of this as the
Just like
valid
that. Yeah.
option. So if you're a builder out there, play around with these ideas, see what you can dream up. And so it is, we're seeing other players in the space. And so if you thought about it, this is probably not, and they have quite a few locations, Rosie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, the one in Austin is theirs as well.
Wow. It's close
So
to Lakeland as
it's a
well.
company that's working off of these concepts. But it looks like
Yeah.
they have quite a few in Dallas.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I think like today's conversation was about showing among all the news that you're hearing, it is important you see where the money is flowing, right? If you know where the money is flowing and big companies are making large decisions for long term, now is the time to position yourself in those rural areas. So if your household allows you to relocate, if you have a commercial property that you're sitting on and you don't know what the highest and best use of it is, don't stay in inaction. Talk to
Yeah.
the local expert. We are able to position your real estate for the highest exposure so you get what you deserve out of this market. So
Yeah.
guys, this was our weekly update today. Roger, anything else that you want to kind of say?
Well, yeah, there's a lot more news, right? But we're running out of time here, and I definitely want, if you have specific questions and any pocket, any city that you're thinking about investing, I have stuff on Houston and San Antonio. So what we're seeing in Houston, San Antonio, we already showed you in Austin and Dallas, is more building on the outskirts. So we're seeing a town north of Rockwall that's building so many homes, and we're seeing Rockwall. I like to look at Google Maps and see where all the density is, and then you see where the home builders are going, and there's hardly any density there. So I would say that what they're really priming themselves for is that expansion outwards. And so if you've gone to Houston off of 290, and Rosie, you and I were there just last week, so now I'm seeing it in the headlines. We get to see it by being there on the ground, but when when you drive in through the city, you're getting to see it. So the 290 corridor entering Houston, you're going to see so many warehouses being built.
Yeah.
You're going to see so many neighborhoods. And I told Rosie, I said, something's up, man. This area is hot. So it's Waller. They have a water tower there. It's a beautiful, it's on the outside of, for Grand Parkway and the 290 intersection there, the loop, all of that expansion there is just pushing the population further out. It's given them resources where before maybe they needed septic, or there was no way for them to pull electricity affordably. Now, because those resources, instead of septic, now you have city sewer, you have water instead of well water, and all of these different things. You're allowing for expansion to happen. So if there's an area of town that you're looking at, there's no better time than now than to start exploring those options, really start to see where is the population heading to next. And maybe you were thinking of buying inside the city. It was like a prestigious thing. If you had the city, address, it was perfect. You bought in the right area. And now we're starting to see a different trend. So change with the trend. And I don't think that everybody's going to flock back to the office tomorrow, So our next 5 years of trajectory of projections and,
Look at
you
the
know,
housing if it satisfies you, you know?
yeah, does it have a
And
nice home office? Does it
yeah.
allow you space to work? So
Or
those
do
are,
you have a lot big enough so you can put a little extra tiny home in the back and call it a home office, or have an additional ADU rental unit in the back? You know,
yeah,
so which is a great cheaper, affordable living for someone who is starting up.
yeah.
So I really appreciate Roger. Like, he is a wealth of information whenever I'm working with our people who are looking to reinvest their money, or they're looking to go through 1031 exchanges. We are always going back to Roger in his commercial world to see where the money is flowing. And this is how we make the best decision for our people. This is how we help them decide what is the highest and best use of their property. And this is how we actually guide them on how they can relocate their funds from one property to another to continue to take that grab of the growth trajectory that they deserve. So guys, if you think this conversation was helpful, and if you want to have more localized information, reach out to us. Just email us back. We're happy to set up a one-on-one Zoom call. And this is the information we're excited to bring to all our people when they're making decisions to sell their real estate or invest again. So guys, I hope this was helpful. Enjoy yourself. Holiday season is right here. I bet you guys are looking forward to Thanksgiving, and November 2nd to November 25th is not too far away. That weekend is coming up. So enjoy yourself, stay prepared in real estate and in your families. Until then, make it a great day.
Bye,
Bye.
guys. Thank you.